Hey guys, giving a little mod tutorial for a Longshot, how to brass breach a Longshot, or more colloquially, angel breach a Longshot. And this is going to be a 17-30 seconds angel breach that you'll see in the tutorial video. So if your darts fit 17-30 seconds, generally that's gray and pink and black foam. Beige foam will not fit 17-30 seconds. I have a lot of beige foam, but I'm starting to get more into gray foam, so I made a 17-30 seconds breach here. This gun is in preparation for my war Bano on Saturday, not my war, but the war I'm going to, Bano 4 on Saturday. And I figured I'd throw together a nice little modification tutorial for you, for those of you that don't know how to do an angel breach. So yeah, I'll have a voiceover in the back, and just enjoy.
So now you should pull out the whole bolt assembly. It's pretty much what I'm holding now, the breech assembly. It consists of the blue bolt sled, and I'm just poking that little rod out. You can take it out with some pliers after you poke it through with a small screwdriver, and you have to take that off to be able to access the breech. Oh, so here I'm cutting the breech with my bandsaw at the line, and it's a line that separates two parts of the breech. You'll see it very clearly. Cut it right at that line. And now I'm just using some needle nose pliers to rip out the back of that stub that lies in the back of the breech. So as far as brass goes, you're going to need about, for a 17-30 seconds angel breach, you're going to need about 5 inches of 9/16 brass. That's what I just showed. You're going to need a little bit less than 5 inches of 15-30 seconds brass. Then you're going to need some 1/2 inch brass, and of course the 17-30 seconds brass. And I'll show you how to cut those right here in this clip. Here I'm demonstrating how the different pieces of brass will fit together. Your 1/2 inch stub will fit inside your 17-30 seconds stub, and your 15-30 seconds will fit inside all of that. Make sure it's flush at the bottom. And here I'm just super gluing the two 1/2 inch pieces together and letting it dry. And now here I'm super gluing the 15-30 seconds inside of the 1/2 inch stub. So now there's 3 pieces of brass there, kind of flush at the bottom. You have the 15-30 seconds sticking out of the base of the 1/2 inch and the 17-30 seconds 1 inch stubs. Now you want to cover that whole thing in 9/16 brass. The 9/16 brass will fit snugly around the 1 inch pieces at the base. Now I'm just wrapping some electrical tape around the whole thing after I super glued it together. Using one layer of electrical tape around the 9/16 brass on the outside, so it can fit snugly within that orange stub that's sitting in front of me, so I can do some more gluing. So now that I have my brass assembly inside the breech stub, I'm running a little bit of super glue on the seams and the places where it could potentially fail. So I'm running one on the internal seam and the external seam there. Make sure you don't super glue too much on the external one. So now I'm actually cutting off that little nub that sits on top of the old breech that you're not going to use anymore. That nub actually held the metal rod that attached to the bolt sled. You're going to want to saw a little rectangle around that and rip it off with some pliers, whatever you do, and then sand the bottom and super glue it to the breech that you have, like that. I usually use 1 layer of super glue, 1 layer of JB Weld, and 1 layer of epoxy. It should hold very well. Now we're moving on to the front part of the breech, and that entails you grabbing a foot-long piece of 17/32 brass and measuring it about 3 inches back, and then drawing about a 3-inch rectangle on the end of the brass that goes about halfway thick, half of the thickness of the brass, and we're going to end up cutting that here in a second. At this point, I'm basically testing the fit between the front and the back end of the breech. I did end up sanding down that 17/32 front end so it would fit more smoothly into the back end of the breech, but as you see, it does end up fitting smoothly. And now this part's kind of important because that is what it will accept your dart, so make sure it's a smooth transaction before you reassemble your blaster. In this part, I'm demonstrating how you need to glue the 17/32 front end of the breech into that piece there that originally held the old orange piece. Make sure that the back lip of your breech, that where you cut, it does not stick out over the lip of that dart tooth, and I'll actually include a picture to make sure that you get that point.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that little tutorial video. It skimmed over a few things, but most of the things that I skimmed over you could easily infer, or you can check Angel's original thread for. There are also other good YouTube videos on how to make an angel breech out there. Here's kind of what the finished product looks like. I don't have the stock back in because the glue is drying on the PVC reinforcement. You can see a little bit of 17/32 brass sticking at the tip, and I plan to sheathe that with PVC and wrap the PVC in yellow electrical tape so as to not give the appearance of a real blaster, although it is blue and says Nerf on the side. I also want to protect if I ever barrel tap. I don't want to have exposed brass. That's not cool. But here's what the breech looks like inside the blaster. I'll show you the other side because it says my Nerf Haven username on there. When you prime it back, you can see Hoth. I don't know if you can see the start of the H now. But right now, it's I just range tested it outside, but it's getting a little dark, so I can't do it again. It hit flat like 95 to 105 variability with I put a K25 spring in there. This is a second K25 spring I have if you don't know exactly what they look like. I cut it down to pretty much the exact length of the plunger rod and reinforced the retention cap with some hot glue and some epoxy putty. I didn't show that, but that's some of the parts you can infer. And then as for the catch, I added 2 more springs on the catch so it wouldn't misfire on me because that would suck. I did fire it a couple times with the stock spring because I really like how easy it is to prime with the stock spring, and it's getting like flat 60 with the stock spring, so that's decent. And for how easy it is to prime with the stock spring, I almost think it's worth it, but I will keep that K25 in there for the strength and the 100-foot ranges. Future plans for this, not much other than cutting these little blue nubs and using this shotgun foregrip that I created, I guess is the correct word, built out of polycarb a few weeks ago. It's pretty nicely made. And so as you can see, these kind of slots will run in these slots there, right there, and it's pretty much perfectly. It's a perfect fit for the Longshot, and I'll probably run a 632 bolt through these screw holes, and then through the bolt sled in there. I was debating doing the keyring mod, where you prime it with a keyring, and then you load a dart into the chamber with the actual bolt, or with the foregrip in my case, because that takes it totally takes the stress off this nub that you glued there. I may or may not do that. That gets rid of my rate of fire pretty dramatically, but it also probably increases longevity, so you may end up seeing that later. And then as for Stefan modded clip, I have a few of these. Pretty simple. The inventor guy did it on Nerfhaven. You can go check out his mod, but there's basically 2 brass tubes in there, cut for space, and they can fit basically they can fit 2-inch darts. As you saw me put a red dart in there before. So yeah, you should be seeing more of this gun, and I'll talk to you later.